Good morning. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as chair of the board, I welcome you to this November 18th, 2025 working session of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Shelby Rockowicz, our office coordinator, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Shelby.
There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's working session, whether you are joining us in person or virtually. If you are here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you are joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you are joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our communications manager will help you troubleshoot. If you would like closed captioning during this meeting, you will have to manually change your settings. Click on the captions button and select show captions. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door, and it's also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Shelby. I now call this November 18th, 2025 working session to order and ask Shelby to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Llamas.
Present.
Commissioner Jeff Smers.
Present.
The following directors are in attendance: Managing Director Matt Washtenaw, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Brent Schlack, Director of Finance Dan Ackerman.
Very good. All right. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Support. Additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, Shelby, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Llamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smers.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. It's not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board, and Shelby will explain how people may be recognized to comment.
Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we have provided some instructions on the screen on how to participate and make public comment. If you're attending this meeting virtually and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. If you dialed into the meeting from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Our communications manager will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time and will announce your username or last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments.
All right.
At this time, we do not have public comment.
All right. We have one guest in the waiting room, but not wishing to comment, it appears, correct?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. So we will dive right in. This is a big working session. It always is, where we look at fourth quarter budget and next year as well. So at this point, I will turn it over to Matt.
Thank you, Chair Fuller. I will ask Dan Ackerman to come on up and walk us through a presentation on both the 2025 year-end analysis and budget for 26. So, Dan.
Good morning. Welcome to my favorite session of the year. I did want to point out that we've been working very closely on just about everything. Obviously,
We'll get you turned on here, Dan.
There you go, Dawn.
okay. Do I need to repeat
Yeah,
everything I
please
said?
do.
Okay. Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance. Connie, our Assistant Finance Director, is with me, and eventually she will be giving this presentation on behalf of the organization. And so right now we're just kind of working together, and she's kind of learning our budget process, which I believe is a little bit different than her previous employer. And what we do kind of works for us, but this presentation is for you. So definitely feel free to ask questions at any point in time. We're throwing a lot of numbers at you, so which I enjoy and you may or may not enjoy, but just a lot of things to talk about. So I'll just get right into it unless there's any initial questions.
I don't see any initial questions. Go ahead.
Right. So we will talk about the 2025 year-end budget first. So the goal is to have good numbers through October, and then we estimate November and December. We've had several meetings with us, with all the departments to kind of go over what we're anticipating as far as invoices, revenues coming in. I always say we don't like surprises in finance, so inevitably there might be some, but hopefully they are minor. So we again try to engage as much staff as possible to cover as much ground as we can and try to accurately predict our final numbers for the year. Just a reminder, we're typically conservative by nature, which means we would slightly underestimate our revenues and slightly overestimate our expenditures. So then, the budget that we present to you would be conservative and fully anticipate the final numbers would be a little bit better than what we're presenting to you. And hopefully, it's been our track record the last several years. And as far as this presentation and what we present to you in December for approval, at this point in time, the only thing that will change, some of our October numbers are not final yet.
Right.
So some of those might change slightly, but it would not change the overall bottom line. It might vary very slightly, but for the most part, what you see here is what we anticipate providing to you, which we looked at the calendar and probably this week we need to finalize some things in order to get them to you prior to the board meeting on December 2nd.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I have a question.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Does the budget include the increase that we received from the state this year or no?
Mhm.
It does.
The 26 budget does assume some revenue
Yes.
increases, but we'll get into
Yeah.
kind of the new funding
Yes.
as we talk about 26.
Yep.
Okay.
We're going to start with 25.
Mhm.
And as Dan points out, the timing with our first meeting in December and how late Thanksgiving fell. So we've got a quick turnaround to essentially close the books on October and update the documents and then send that out by Tuesday because we're closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. To be ready for our December 2nd board meeting, which will also be the next step.
Yes. So I just saw a couple of Teams messages come through and apparently Matt, they can't hear you. Did you get those, Tiffany? Is your mic on?
Green.
It
I'll
is
get it
green?
closer. How's that? Okay, very good. Thank you.
How's that, Nicole? Is that working?
All right.
Okay.
And then it looks like in 26, our first meeting will be on December 7th. The 1st of December shifts a day, so it won't be quite as lickety split as this year.
It is pretty lickety split.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the way things fell on the calendar and the holidays, so.
And the holidays are great, being able to spend time with our families and everything, but sometimes then that creates some deadline challenges. But we talked it through yesterday at our leadership meeting, so I think we have a good game plan to get everything to you. So,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, and Dan and Connie did a great job of getting with our directors and departments to really understand where we're at with things. One of the things that we'll talk about as well is a lot of times we're wondering, all right, did we get all that we accomplished or wanted to get accomplished, meaning what was in the budget, or are we carrying it over into 26? So some of the purchases or projects ends up being carried over, which we'll get into in a minute.
Yep. So I always like to cut to the chase. And so the recommended changes for the budget is an additional decrease of about $1.6 million, which would leave us with a fund balance of about 17.4, which is about 19% of expenditures. So that's kind of right where we want to be. Again, someone in my position would always like to see that higher, but again, with all the things that we want to accomplish, I'm very comfortable with these numbers. Again, conservative nature with the budgeting, I fully expect it to be a little bit better than that. So.
Questions? I do have a question. I went back, and unless my notes are inaccurate, our 2025 fund balance forecast in our draft budget back then was 9%.
Hmm.
And now you're telling me it's 19%?
Correct.
Help me understand, Dan.
So that was last year at this time, right? The preliminary budget, I think you're
Mhm,
referring to.
mhm.
So again, our year-end numbers, if you recall from 2024, were much better than projected.
Yeah,
And so we were able to, that fund balance was much higher. The actual fund balance as of year-end 2024 was much higher than was in the preliminary documents. So that's the main reason, really.
Yeah, we
Okay.
covered some of that at our quarterly reviews, but I think one of the biggest ones was interest earnings was a lot higher than anticipated.
Yep.
And those are the kind of the things that we won't know until we get year end. Also, Mother Nature can be kind to us in November and December, and we assume
or not. Yeah.
that we're gonna have to do
Right.
some winter maintenance activities, and if that doesn't happen, that's a savings.
Okay.
So you see these swings as we learn more on things like winter maintenance, things like interest earnings, projects, how they wrap up, how we end up invoicing. So a lot of that is, again, we're at this point in time, we're making assumptions on how we'll end the year as of the 31st of December. And we're being conservative in that nature.
I also believe the Michigan Transportation Funds, we were estimating at year-end 2024 the actual came in higher, which
Yeah.
by design.
Yeah,
So,
December
mhm.
of last year
Was
was
a-
our highest
Yes,
MTF receipt. And again, that is that pot for potholes.
Yeah.
We get that one time.
December money,
And
yeah.
usually it's in December. And so we're not assuming we're gonna get that this time. We're more flatlining our MTF, which Dan will certainly talk about. So we may see that again, where revenue ends up being a little higher than we anticipated.
right.
So-
And I would refer you to our first quarter PowerPoint, and I could send that to you, but
I
we
have-
talk a lot about, year end, why it came in so much better. So, but that's a big contributor to us, I think we had planned on spending down our fund balance in year end 2024, and I think we actually added a little bit, so there was a big swing that way.
I just, my obsession with fund balance, OPEB,
Oh, I
and
know.
pension.
Yes.
So
Yep.
when I see that kind of a swing,
Mm-hmm.
but we're asked to approve a budget,
Yes.
I'm nervous.
Right.
But you're assuring me
Mhm.
it'll all be okay, right?
Yeah, and again, I think we have a pretty good track record here, so hopefully,
Right.
that would mean something too, but yeah, and there's some swings up and down, but we
Mhm.
also make sure we don't go lower than a certain threshold as
Right.
well, because you don't want to, worry about, can you pay your vendors, can you pay your employees, so we make sure,
Right.
and emergencies come up too, as you
Right.
know. So
Right.
you want to make sure you have plenty of fund balance to address all of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and with it being a percentage of expenditures, 26 is gonna be a great example
Mhm.
whereby we have an enormous amount of expenditures. So having a fund balance of a certain threshold, the percentages will vary dramatically if you're having a really large year of projects.
Okay,
So that you're gonna see that.
okay. I just know Plant Moran recommends a certain level of a percentage. And in 23, it was 16%, 24, it was 15, and 25, we're projecting. We had projected 9, which is now 19,
Mhm.
and in 26, we're projecting 7.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
I'll be welcoming the updates
Yes.
to track that.
And we'll talk about that a little. 26 is a bit unusual.
Right.
So there's a lot to discuss with that, but
Okay.
we'll get into 26
Okay,
in a minute.
Madam
Any other
Chair,
questions on this slide?
One
Commissioner
question.
Green?
Yes.
What might be the highest percentage allowable by your estimation?
It could be 100%, which then citizens would say, you're not investing in the roads and not sure what you're doing with your funds. Plant Moran said about 15 to 25%.
Okay,
So we try to get within that as much as possible. Sometimes we go below that, but we also look at what is that actual fund balance dollar amount.
Right.
And typically we look at 10 million as far as our floor, which is, a few months of Michigan transportation funds. Would I like it to be closer to 25? I would, but, we do have work to do and, we have obligations and we want to attract the best and brightest, so have good equipment, with all those competing needs. It's usually probably in the middle of the 15 to 25 or on the lower side even, but again, we try not to go below if we can, so.
Yeah, I think fiscal responsibility can be a lot of things. One is having a fund balance. But if you have too much, is that being fiscal responsible, given you've been given this revenue and our role is to invest and fix the roads, right? So if we have 100%, as Dan's example, of fund balance, yeah, that's great as a finance person, but as someone that's trying to manage infrastructure, we have rising costs of construction. And yes, it's great to have money in the bank. Maybe it does earn interest, but our rising costs of infrastructure construction far exceeds a lot of times our interest rates. So ultimately, I as Dan really preaches, and I as well, a balanced approach. We have to invest in infrastructure. We have to invest in our people and our equipment and facilities. That's kind of our balanced approach. I think we do, and the board does a great job of supporting that balanced approach and fund balance and being fiscally responsible to be able to respond to natural disaster, dips in revenues. That fund balance is a critical part of it, so that it's very wise to pay attention to that. That's a big marker as far as how we're doing.
And you'll see in 2026, there are certain things that we couldn't justify including in the budget because of where that fund balance was landing. So there are some things that we're holding off on, and I'll talk about that when we get to 26. So. Any other questions on this slide? I know it's a very important one. Okay. So I want to acknowledge Brent and the engineering staff. If you see in the appendices for our primary and local projects, lots of things are highlighted in yellow. So probably more so than not. That means that there were some changes that had to be made, and just a yeoman's effort by him and his staff, in operations as well. But a lot of the yellow means we're carrying over projects. There's a few that we did add, but anyway, so staff definitely spent a lot of time and effort looking at all the projects, what things were on track to be completed, what things we need to carry over. And I'm going to highlight a few, but certainly those appendices have all of it. So if you have any particular questions on projects, certainly let me know. But some of the larger carryovers is Dexter Chelsea, east of Freer to Dancer. There are some millage projects that we're carrying over into next year. State Road between US 12 and Old State Road, that was a federal aid buyout project. And then several culvert carryovers, between workload, between, weather, challenges with contractors. There could be a whole host of reasons as to why these are being carried over.
I'll add permitting and utility relocations to the list. When we're looking to accomplish culverts, that's one of the biggest ones. Making sure we have our permitting in place, and then ultimately coordinating with the utility companies for relocations if there's conflicts, which often there are.
Right.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Yamas has.
Commissioner Yamas?
So you talked about the buyout, the federal buyout, and they eliminated that, but then they reinstated that, right?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we were told in 2027, the federal aid buyout program will be back, which we're delighted about. So,
Okay. And so to just my full understanding of the buyout project is they buy projects back,
No,
or
so
we purchase
what we do
projects?
is it's not project related, it's funding related. So
Okay.
MDOT exchanges our federal funds, whether it be urban or rural, and they give us back MTF, Michigan Transportation Funds, a lot less strings attached. The
Okay,
deal is for every dollar we give them, we get 90 cents back. So we did that years ago on State Road. That was a buyout project. And ultimately, we have 3 years to then accomplish that project. So that project is always going to be ours. It's just where's the money coming from?
okay,
So in this case, we exchanged our federal funds and got back Michigan Transportation Funds. And then we have 3 years to accomplish it. So we're well within our 3 years, State Road for that. So we're going to get that done next year.
okay. So basically, we give them 10% for less,
No, we
String.
give them 100%.
right? But they give
And
us
then-
back 10%.
Or
Or
discounted 90%.
90%, they give
So
it
if
back
we get a
90%.
dollar, give them a dollar, we get 90 cents back.
Right,
But oftentimes we see that savings, and then some when we bid out locally. So when contractors bid out, for instance, HMA, hot mix asphalt, they bid per ton. The per ton price for an MDOT job is much higher, typically 10 to 15% higher than if we do it with our countywide contract. So oftentimes we stack up our county local projects and put them into one big contract for countywide paving. So that's where we see significant savings. And then there aren't certainly as many strings attached
Right.
from an administrative running the project. So it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
So we're very supportive of that coming back.
great. Thank you.
We did add a couple projects, Dexter Chelsea east of Freer Road to Savannah Road, and then obviously you're familiar with Tuttle Hill at Merritt. Those were added. So again, those would be highlighted in yellow. The entire project would be highlighted in yellow.
That Dexter Chelsea project was in partnership with the city of Chelsea. So that is actually within the city limits.
Mhm.
Because we were working on that segment of road, the city had asked, would we be willing to add to the scope of work? So we entered into an agreement, which was approved by this board, to essentially run the project on behalf of Chelsea, and then we invoiced them. So that project that we added was at the request of the city of Chelsea.
But they paid for it.
Correct.
Right.
Carryovers, inevitably, we do have some road equipment that we have to carry over, so the 5 heavy trucks, the upfitting, about $1.1 million, will not be received until 2026, and we've been coached by our auditors. It's not an asset of the road commission until it's received, so we need to make sure we carry that budget over to next year.
Is that the same item as last year at this time?
I think so.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a
It's
trend.
identical.
Right.
From
Not
what
the
I,
same trucks,
Right.
but it is the same item.
and it's the same
Oftentimes,
dollar amount too, which
Yeah.
is,
Right.
well, keep in mind, we buy 5 trucks a year.
yep.
So same upfitting. So we received the cabin chassis during our budget fiscal year, but there's a delay in the upfitting. We use a vendor called Truck and Trailer, and they've been very busy. So we anticipate receiving them hopefully by first quarter, which will be great. But ultimately, that's going to be, we're going to see that delay continue. So this is the trend that they're catching up, as is all of our municipal partners with fleet. And it used to be we were waiting on the cabin chassis and the upfitting. Now it's reversed. We're getting the cabin chassis.
Mhm.
And now the folks that do the upfitting of those cabin chassis, their workload and demand is way high.
Didn't I read that Oakland just received 24 new trucks or something?
30.
Really?
34.
Wow. Okay.
So they're the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
talk to that.
They got first in line because they had a lot more.
Yeah. Under green.
Does the cost of upfitting tend to fluctuate, or is it pretty constant?
I think it's probably constant, but there's inflationary factors that we may see. And probably supply and demand also, plays a factor too.
Yeah, each year when we send our purchase order to the board, you'll see some inflationary costs. So we'll get the cabin chassis, and then everything you see in that picture, the dump unit, the plow blades, all the hydraulics and mechanical things that get added, spinners, and brine tanks, all that gets added and essentially put into a purchase order that the board then will approve. So there is definitely inflationary costs that we see every year.
Another carryover at the Chelsea Yard, material storage building repairs, that's gonna be carried over to next year.
Okay.
And we did add the replacement of heat exchangers at Chelsea and Manchester. Building and Grounds had some concerns about how they were functioning and said we need to repair these now, so. All right, Michigan Transportation Funds. So obviously we go over that every month with my reports. And the trend through 9 months of the year is much better than we're budgeting, I think by about $1 million. But we were told these last 3 months, because of the change with the formulas, the extra funding may not be there, but they've changed some of how they're doling it out. So they said we may actually see a decrease. So usually we would probably increase this line item at year end, but staff didn't feel comfortable doing so because we are anticipating maybe a decrease in the last 3 months. So that's why there's no change. Again, hopefully we're being conservative and it will be a little bit higher than we had budgeted, but again, we don't know. So
Right.
that's the theme with MTF is we don't know with a lot of things right
And
now.
this relates to the timing of these changes. So
Right.
the fiscal year at the state started October 1st. They're no longer putting 600 million of income tax into MTF. They've got new revenue, which we've talked about starting January 1. So those 3 months, we're going to see a little dip. But we also anticipate December being an upswing. So with those unknowns, we're just going to go with what we had assumed in our second quarter, and hopefully we'll see a better result, and that will contribute to the fund balance going up.
Commissioner Yamas?
Some of my concern has been, I know that the marijuana companies where they expect a 25% increase is taking that to court, right? So
Right.
if that falls through,
Sure.
has that been considered how that's going to impact what we're supposed to get?
Yeah, and that will be in 2026.
Right,
Because that's something that's new and that won't start until January.
okay,
Certainly, we have an estimate for 26, which is an increase. But we think that's conservative. So if something like that were to happen, maybe we'd have to make a further adjustment, but we already kind of adjusted it a little bit in anticipation because there's just so many new factors and so many more unknowns that, it definitely makes me nervous.
Yes, so the wholesale tax, that 24%
right,
is going into the neighborhood roads fund, the NRF.
yes,
We are assuming a zero for that for 2026.
okay,
Until we get it, we're not assuming.
Right.
right, okay,
Yeah, the tax I'm talking about, when marijuana is made legal,
yeah,
they do put a tax
Right.
on it, and we see a distribution of that in December. That is different than the 24% wholesale tax. That is a new tax on marijuana.
right,
That we're not assuming any revenue until we get it.
okay.
Yep.
Also, we already talked about some carryover projects, but the federal state aid revenues, there'll be a decrease of about 5.9 million. And there's also a corresponding decrease in expenditures. And again, those will be carried over, a majority of those to next year. Township contributions, expecting lower revenue from townships. Several culvert projects that we're carrying over to next year that the townships are partnering with, and so they have a contribution on that. Some of the township agreement jobs, we provide estimates for the work and typically come in below those estimates, which is a good thing, but then we would decrease the revenues that we're anticipating. And again, corresponding expenditure decrease as well, so. Other contributions, so about 1.3 million in millage projects we're carrying over to next year. Again, corresponding decrease. We received, there's a road improvement agreement with consumers a couple of years ago. And Bush Road is something that we're carrying over to next year, so we want to carry those revenues over. Miscellaneous income, we're actually increasing it by 345 for interest income, which I anticipate that being higher, but we don't know, until the last few months. But that certainly is trending higher, which is great. So we are not going to have an installment purchase for our heavy trucks. So that would be a decrease of about 1.9 million, which is the proceeds from the installment purchase. And then we did finalize our sale with our property on M52. And that was about $3 million. And we need to increase miscellaneous income to recognize that. And keep in mind that 3 million is going to go into a designation of our fund balance for capital improvements in the future. So any questions on any of that?
The consumers work, that's old, isn't it? I mean,
Revenue that we recognize per the agreement, and then we also, it's really a liability out there because we haven't gotten this last project done. It is a couple of years ago, we entered into agreement, but there was no deadline on timing. So we were hopeful that we could get that work accomplished this year, but we're having to carry it over into next year. So it's a good thing to have that no restriction on timing.
oh, okay. So this is still part of Mark McCullough's magic deal that he made?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Way back when?
Yeah.
Magic deal.
Okay.
And I want to say there are some projects even in 27
Wow.
that we're designating for this money too. Is that correct? Yeah. Yes. So we keep that as a liability in our books because it's not our money until the designated projects that we have for the funds we have those expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimately, it was a cash contribution for designated projects. If we our costs come in lower than what we received, that money goes into fund balance.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Reimbursable road projects, that's always a huge number. It's account 801, and contractual services are going to be lower because of the carryover. So that's where you'll see a lot of the carryover we've been talking about in the actual budgets. Non-departmental liability insurance. So McChrysip did give us a refund that we received it after the second quarter budget review. So we're recognizing it now. So those line items are a bit lower. And medical insurance costs were lower. We had favorable claims experience, which it didn't make a huge impact on the budget, but we seem to be bucking the trend. I'm sure you've been hearing health insurance is kind of getting out of control. A friend of mine pays $800 a month currently, and that's going up to $1,800 a month. I could not believe it, but anyway, so our experience was really, really good. And our agents, they handle, a lot of municipalities, and they said, they almost can't believe some of the experience and the costs that they're seeing that, it's probably close to maintaining, but, you're seeing double-digit increases for just about everyone. And so, definitely a testament to, the road commission and the employees that, we had a good year, no significant larger claims. I mean, we probably have had some, but, not maybe as typical. So really just a good year. And I just wanted to point that out to the board. We do have some slight increases for 2026, but really they're nominal, and, the entire organization should feel good about it as well as the commissioners.
Sure.
So we already kind of talked about this, the capital outlay carryovers. Again, we want to make sure that these expenditures are carried over into next year so it doesn't dip into the budget for those for next year. And that's really all I have for 2025. Any questions? Any other questions on it? And I don't know if we have a break planned or if we just want to go right into 2026, certainly whatever.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure? You need a break?
5 minutes.
Rod needs a break.
Okay.
Rod
Needs a break.
everyone.
Let the record show.
Yeah. We'll come back here as close to 22 as we can, 9:40.
Okay, great. I guess I will introduce myself again, but Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance. Okay, so let's talk 2026 with some eye-popping numbers. So we feel the overall financial position is stable. WCRC expenditures $99.6 million. So I did a 5-year look back. The highest revenues or expenditures that I saw was about 74 million. So a banner year in 2026. We're going to be hopping, engineering will be hopping, operations, and certainly we'll get into it. Of course, the appendices have all of our primary and local projects that we'll be working on. It's just quite impressive, really. So we do.
Certainly a very high watermark. We knew this year was coming.
Yes.
We've been talking about
Mhm.
the project workload, and it is unprecedented in my career.
Yes.
Here, and Dan, well,
I wanted to just round the WCRC expenditures to 100 million just because I thought it'd look really cool on the slide, but I just kept it at 99.6.
You just couldn't
Yeah,
do it,
right.
could
I
you,
couldn't
Dan?
do it, right.
we'll get there, Dan.
Yes, yes. So we do have deficit spending planned. The projected fund balance will be about 10 million, which is about 7.4% of expenditures. So again, keep in mind, the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures, when your expenditures are higher, which this is a watermark year at 100 million, that percentage is going to be even lower, if that makes sense. So again, not concerned. We feel we'll come in even better for 2025 like we typically do. And, so there's some other things too. With Michigan Transportation Funds, I think we're being conservative with that in 26. We've not planned on any of the neighborhood roads funds. So again, I think there's some things in there that it's very conservative number. So again, I know Commissioner Fuller, fund balance and percentage of fund balance is near and dear to you, but at this point in time, I'm not concerned. And certainly the first quarter, we'll know what our 2024 numbers are. We'll know how winter was, so we can make some adjustments. And if we have to dial some things back, we will. But I again just continue to be impressed by that. And the project expenditures, $58 million. That's got to be a record for the agency for sure.
Yes, what I'll also state that I think last year at this time, the projected fund balance was for 25 year end was about $10 million.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and with this project workload, it is going to obviously throw things off from a percentage standpoint.
Mhm.
But, I fully expect that we'll do a little better with expenditures and revenue by year end. And at first quarter, we can make adjustments as needed. Also know that what's in the budget, there are a few projects that are solely MTF projects that could be deferred if need be. And we can make that adjustment. We've had those conversations. We certainly have deferred projects that aren't included in the budget. But we also have a few projects in the budget that could be deferred if needed.
My concern becomes money's great, but we only have so many people and there's so many hours in a day.
Yes.
Right.
And I worry about fatigue,
Mhm.
trying to get something done just because we've got the money to do it. So,
Right.
Well, some of it is we were obligated to do it with deadlines as it relates to federal projects. I think this is the biggest federal aid year
Mhm.
that we were ever going to see. or that we've seen, I should say. So some of these are obligations that we've got to get done this year. The good news is a lot of this work is going to be through our vendors and contractors,
Okay,
but it is, to your point, we have to have folks managing it. So
Right.
we are going to get a lot of help this coming year from our vendors and contractors, meaning we can rely on some of our consultants to help oversee some of this work. All of our internal staff will be fully working on projects and also our crews. So we're looking again, a lot of culvert work that are going to get done with our crews, some seal coat. So it'll be a combination, but everyone is all hands on deck for sure.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Yamas?
So my question to Barb's workload, and you're depending on our contractors and so they report to you what's going on or what's not going on to keep them on budget and project on schedule.
Right, we have a whole staff of project managers in the engineering department and our superintendents. They track all those vendor costs very closely. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions on this slide? Okay.
We're not actually expanding our workforce. We're tapping outside help.
Correct.
So we don't have that legacy going forward if there's another
Sure.
contraction, right?
Yep.
Correct. And we'll be, we've talked at great length with the different, with directors Adam Lape and Brent Schlack, kind of how we're strategizing, and we may award multiple contracts instead of one contract for countywide paving. We may look at multiple contracts, or we may bid out separately bundles of projects as well. So that those discussions are ongoing, and we're going to be bidding work out here in the very first part of our next year. Yep.
Okay.
But very good reflection on that because it is, I think all of us in this room are concerned with our ability to not tax our staff too much.
Right.
It will be a taxing year, but hopefully it'll be a high water mark, and then we'll kind of settle in. Because we were very good at competing and getting a lot of competitive grants. This is the high water mark. I think it'll balance out in the coming years with federal aid, but then we have new revenue that we're going to have to figure out how much that new revenue is going to mean for the coming years, and then how are we going to prioritize all the needs.
Yeah.
So that's a good problem to have, though.
Too much fun, Connie.
Yes.
Are you ready?
So Michigan Transportation Funds, a lot of debate and discussion. Certainly you're well aware that there's going to be an increase. Just as a reminder, I believe our budget for 2025 is 37,750. So we are anticipating an increase from, say 38 million to 45, which is significant. Usually maybe there's incremental increases. We'll see. We'll see how the money flows into the organization. That'll start in January. With January's receipts, as we have shared with you in the past, there's a delay from when the money is collected to when we would receive it. So that would be in March. We would receive the January Michigan Transportation Funds. And to me, that will be our first indicator of how much of an increase it really is. So we should have a couple of months before we do our first quarter. We could adjust that, or we could wait till second quarter as well. But best guess, who knows? But we kind of landed at 45 million for now. So,
and ultimately, this is a very steady stream of revenue that we know about, given that they're doing the swap. This increase of Michigan Transportation Funds is the swap of sales tax for 20 cents of additional on top of what we had been getting, which was, I believe, 28 cents, correct? So now it's going up to 48 cents, and it gets distributed by formula that we know and love. So no changes there other than they're adding an additional 20 cents a gallon to Michigan Transportation Fund. What that means to the Washtenaw County Road Commission, we're projecting at 45 million
Sure.
for this budget cycle. And then obviously we'll adjust given the history of receipts starting in January. But that's where we're at as far as new revenue. So that's a known quantity. The next one, which Dan will get into, is the Neighborhood Roads Fund, which we're assuming zero. We think we're going to see Neighborhood Roads Fund. We don't know how much or when, because that's two components. One is the corporate income tax.
Right.
So that's one component of the Neighborhood Roads Fund. We don't, that's not money we've historically seen before, or how it's get distributed or when it gets collected. So we can't make any assumptions. The other one is the 24% wholesale tax on marijuana. And that, again, we did get some news on that, in that they aren't going to collect until fourth quarter of next year. So we probably maybe not even see distribution until the end of the year, if at all, might be the following year. I don't know. So those are things that in the budget write-up, in the budget document on page 3 of the executive summary, you'll see those discussions on Michigan Transportation Fund and Neighborhood Roads Fund. Those are where we're summarizing that now. So major funding sources for us. A lot of changes in the law, and it'll be a year of somewhat discovery, these new funding sources.
And we don't know if there's gonna be any caveats with the neighborhood roads funds. And maybe with the timing of it, the money's, so if it's collected in December, we would not see it until about February. But maybe what we have to do from a budget perspective is to, whatever funds we receive, then the following year would be how we're spending it. Again, just the nature of how the money's going to flow. So it might always be like the next year for whatever neighborhood roads funds we receive in the previous year. But, definitely more to come on that. And I believe, Matt, the MTF, it has inflationary factors associated with it, which is great.
Yes.
I think to just say, okay, there's an increase and we're good, well, costs increase.
Right.
The cost for our agency and so on. And there's also the challenges that, with electric vehicles and, the vehicles are getting more fuel efficient. So I don't think that is going away. I mean, certainly that's a good thing, but even with increases, then that kind of whittles that away. And I believe with the new budget for Michigan Transportation Funds, there's $7 million for Lansing to do a study or a pilot program to look at the funding mechanism and possibly change it to vehicle miles driven, which kind of makes more sense to me, again, as because I don't see vehicles becoming less efficient. Maybe they would, or less electric vehicles. So, again, what is the long-term or modern solution to fairly tax everybody? So.
And currently, they're also, with the laws that were passed, I believe a registration increased for electric and hybrid vehicles. So that, to pay their fair share, so to speak.
Right.
So, more to come on that.
Yes.
That with the Neighborhood Roads Fund, that we do know that there is no match requirement. So that is one thing that we do know about. So that's going to be something interesting to consider as we do get that revenue, how we shape sort of our local road program in the future. But for next year, we're really looking at, hey, we are seeing an increase in revenue, but we're really not changing our local road program. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later in this presentation.
Commissioner Yamas.
So we will not be receiving, if it comes through, the NRF money until the fourth quarter of that'll be every year?
Again, two parts of NRF, corporate income tax. I do
Right.
not know when that's coming. That could be before fourth quarter. what we do know is that we got word from the state on the 24% wholesale that that wouldn't be collected until fourth quarter. When it's distributed, I don't know. I do
Okay,
not know.
okay. So
So-
that's the uncertainty and why the zero.
Right, exactly. So
Okay.
again, conservative by nature. We need to acknowledge it, and the state's been very clear, the MTF and the NRF will be separate. So we're tracking it separately, but again, with all these unknowns, we said, let's acknowledge that it exists, but not put any dollars in there at this time.
So the corporate portion, is that a certainty or is that also being?
No, it's not being challenged. That
Okay.
is certainty.
Yep.
Yep. It's anticipated for the state to raise, I think the number was around 650 million.
Mhm.
So it's a big number.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so-
would that money be forthcoming or no?
It will at some point. We just don't know when. And we're
Okay.
not going to plan to spend money we don't have.
Right,
We're not recognizing it until we get it.
okay.
And
Thank you.
so I think those January receipts will be very interesting to see, again, what the increase is. Is there any NRF funds? How is it reported? So, and it was my plan, monthly I report on Michigan Transportation Funds, probably have an NRF spreadsheet as well, just so the board can see, even if it's zero. Just so you can see, what that's doing as well, so. So definitely, we always say we're monitoring things closely, but even more so this year, because there are just so many unknowns and, things up in the air and so on. So, but as we learn more about this, certainly we'll share it with you.
Thank you.
So I hope the board likes roundabouts. Next year will be the year of the roundabout. We've got 4 here, so very exciting. I'm sure you're already familiar with most of them, so I don't know if I need to go into any detail or not, but, and again, these are all federal state aid, projects. 80% and federal state, so about 80% federal state dollars, and then a local portion for us, about 20%.
Yeah, each project's going to have a little different percentage of the local share, depending on the Dexter Chelsea at Island Lake. That's a bigger project than just the roundabout. So that one's gonna have a little different breakdown, but the other 3 is more typical 80.
Any questions on that at all?
Commissioner Green?
Just kind of curious. I'm assuming the cost of a roundabout is pretty standard.
Road construction projects, we are seeing inflationary costs. I used to be able to say, and Brent and Aaron Burkholz correct me all the time, your number is wrong, that we could build a roundabout for $1 million. That is not the case. It can be upwards of 1.5 to 1.8. It really depends on the timing of your bid. We
Right.
try to bid early so that contractors are hungry. If you bid later, sometimes we don't have a choice in the matter because we're dealing with right of way or permitting.
I see.
And so those costs can go higher.
That's
It
true.
really depends on contractor's workload and the complexities and timing of the individual project.
All right.
So we can see a range typically anywhere between 1.5 and 1.8 is, I would guess, is the new number that Brent is coaching me on. So that is definitely we have estimates, and then you have the bid dollars, and then you have the final contract numbers. None of them are going to match,
That's true.
right? I can
Right.
guarantee you that.
That's true.
Any other questions on roundabouts? Okay. Federal state aid program continued, several bridges that we'll also be working on. Sharon Valley Bridge, that's a large one, and I think there was a working session kind of talking about some of the things we're doing there.
Yes.
So, any questions on bridge program? Okay. And so usually the federal aid slide is 1 and now it's 3, but our federal aid buyout, as we mentioned, State Street was a carryover that I believe we have to accomplish next year based
Yeah.
on the funding. Yes.
Yeah, it's that 3-year time frame. We have
Yes.
a time of buyout till execution, and so we're in our 3rd year. We'll get it done.
Yep. Here in River Drive, border segment D4, so that is an continuation of the border project, which obviously we've shared with you with all the other phases.
And that one is a partnership with the Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Commission. That is $2 million of federal aid, but I believe it's more likely a $7 million
Yeah, we've got that.
project. It's listed. So any cost above the TAP grant of 2 million, that is the responsibility of Parks and Recreation Commission, and we invoice them for those costs. We have a project agreement that was approved by the board. So with every TAP project, that is the case.
And
So
also-
we show it as our revenue. That's a great example where $7 million is flowing through our books, but it's really going into an asset that we're not responsible for, but it's a partnership. So that's where you take those expenditures for this given year, and $7 million of that expenditure is really not us, but it is a partnership project.
So it passes through us,
Yes,
Correct.
we have to account for it in our budget, of course.
right?
Yes.
Yep.
And then state road pathway, and then some CMAC for traffic signal upgrades.
And State Road Pathway is a partnership pathway project with Pittsfield Township. Again, a TAP project.
Township contributions, again, with the increase in funding, we decided to increase the matching program with our townships to 4 million from 2 million.
Proposal, obviously, this is a recommendation to the board, but that is ultimately your decision. We are obviously going to get more revenue. Local roads are one of our biggest needs as a road commission. So we thought to continue our very successful local matching program, local road program, and increase the match, essentially doubling it. It was 2 million. Now we're proposing it to be 4 million. That will then be distributed with the typical formula, which includes local road miles and population. Then that would ultimately get distributed to our 20 townships. $2 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but when you divide it by 20 townships, it's not a big sum for each individual township. Our larger, more urban townships do get a bigger share because they have more local roads. That's the rationale. So that's definitely something that we're recommending in this budget that we'd like you to consider. After we adopt the budget, then we will subsequently, in the second meeting in December, adopt our local road program policy for 26. And that will be ultimately an increase if this were to go forward. Any questions on that?
Jeff?
So what is the current amount? Is it dollar for dollar? Is it $2 for every dollar township? What is that? How's that look?
So it's a matching 50%. The law with MTF requires at least a 50% on significant projects above normal maintenance. So we established a program. Last year it was $2 million, and each township receives that match. Typically, our townships are great partners, and we're often seeing overmatching. So usually last year's budget, we set it up as 2 million, and we anticipate a match of 2 million. So $4 million local road program. Usually that grows into maybe a 5 or 6 or $7 million local road program by the time we get all the agreements done. So we typically will adopt the local road program in late December. Then we're ultimately working with our townships, getting agreements in place all the way up to May. And then second quarter budget is when we make the adjustment to all the agreements are in place. Here's what the local road program is going to look like for the year. And the local road program can be a variety of things. It could be gravel road investments, it could be paving investments. In that case, we're using vendors. So it's a 50-50 until you get to your limit on your match. And then ultimately, everything beyond that matching point is 100% township.
And this wouldn't increase that, it would just increase the available funds to
Correct.
match townships.
We'd be doubling our available funds for the match. In addition to the local matching program, we offer 50% for large culverts or bridges, doing a 50-50. And that's only as funds are available.
Mhm.
So as opportunities come up with our townships and they put forth an idea, we ultimately would enter into an agreement. It'd come to the board. We'd look at our budget. Hey, yes, this is something we can accommodate, and we move it forward. So it's not just the matching program, but also the culvert and local bridges. Don't want to forget that.
Thank you.
Yep,
So the extra 2 million comes out of the bump we're getting in the MTF?
correct.
Okay.
And I imagine first quarter, if we're not as conservative as we thought, we could possibly make adjustments then, or?
We wouldn't make adjustments to the local road program. We would make adjustments to
Elsewhere.
our primary
Yeah, okay,
investment.
yep.
Yes, if we don't want to put forth a commitment to our township
And
and
then
then say,
change it.
just kidding,
Right.
don't want to do that. So.
So we're also expecting about 1.8 million from our townships for culvert projects. So could also be year of the culvert part 2.
Yeah, that is a lot of carryover work as
Mhm.
well. And projects that we're waiting on permits or utility relocation.
So doubling the local road matching program would also then rely on the townships to be able to double what they can put forward,
Right.
right?
Correct.
Potentially.
Some of them
Yep.
already do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Others do not. And there may be a case where some townships aren't able to make that commitment. And then that money would just come back into the road commission if it's not used.
We wouldn't redistribute it within the,
No, we typically do not.
why not?
Because ultimately we have primary needs as well.
Okay,
Yep.
And as Matt has stated, our township program is usually 6, 7, 8 million anyway. So that just means potentially there'd be a bigger share for the townships.
And Adam and the operations department doing a wonderful job of working with our townships to get them at least to partake up to the match. So this year would be challenging. And Adam, if you want to come up and kind of share.
well, and I thought that was if they invoiced and there was overage, that you then went back to the townships and said, so there's a little extra money, how do you want to spend it? That's
Correct.
why,
Yeah.
that's what triggered my question, Matt.
Yep, Adam Lake, Director of Operations, thanks for having me up. Yeah, specific to the proposal that we're discussing now, just messing with the math at baseline would put most townships at what they already interact with us and what they already
Really?
just honestly, at this point, just kind of luck of the draw, but when Matt and I and Brent started really talking about it, Tiffany Lobosol and I really looked at the numbers really quick and just times 2 and kind of worked from there. Most of the townships spend a few thousand, some spend a few $100,000 more, but most townships, at least at baseline, spend a few $1,000s more than what it would be if it was double.
Interesting.
Yeah, so as of right now, that math would kind of fit. But yeah, so very conscious of that, and it would just come back. The foremen have already established that they have great relationships, maybe some of the best relationships we've had so far, planning wise and just the daily interaction. They're very seamless with townships. I mean, they're already into 26, 27 planning in some of the western townships. And so they're conscious of that and kind of working through that. So our team will provide estimates to us mid-December is where we've set it for the foreman, just knowing we're going to have an increased workload at the baseline.
Yeah.
And so we will estimate more and have more kind of in the oven waiting. If they have more money, then we'll provide another project that we can do and just kind of balance that with what the townships have financial wise. So
Yeah, and each township, they have their own set of fiscal responsibilities as
Right.
well. But they've been great partners, and some townships, they may have a building project going on, and so they don't have the extra funds
Right.
potentially for this fiscal year. So we're gonna work side by side with them.
Okay.
And I think it's important when we're seeing new revenue, that we equally
Share the wealth.
increase, especially to our local road
Yep.
that are in dire need. My optimism for the future is that our local road program will then will change, given the neighborhood roads fund. That might be a funding source we could use for local roads in Washtenaw County that I think will benefit townships greatly, because there is not a match requirement. And we're gonna have to think about that and how we reshape our local road program with our township partners.
I'm sure they'll have some very clever ideas to help us figure that out.
Yes.
Recommendation.
But first, we have to understand how much revenue are we gonna see
Right.
from that neighborhood roads fund? And that's where this year, what I'd like our messaging to our township partners to be is, we value your partnership. We're increasing our local road program. We're gonna see new revenue, but we don't know what the neighborhood roads funds will be. This will be your discovery, and hopefully by this time next year, we can make the changes that we think are appropriate for the local road program, given the neighborhood road funding. But that's to be determined.
And one really quick, good note for everybody as they're getting their minds around it, specific to the unpaved roads and the work that we do. Most seasons, when we enter into a project with a township, probably 80 to 90% of the time, we may have to skip steps, or maybe not ditch from one starting point to the end.
Mm.
We may have to move around because we might not have the money to be able to make a nice seamless transition all the way through a project like we would do in the engineering side of things. So really for us, it's kind of exciting because now we can do what we know we need to do with a little bit of bump in funding. So in the future, that's going to be really good to be able to make a seamless project and for the whole length of 1 mile, as opposed to kind of hit and miss.
Adam and I are very hopeful that with this new neighborhood roads funding, we can really start the asset management on the local roads. Do planning for assets on the local roads with our township partners, because we might have a more steady revenue stream. Because our matching program is dependent on a consistent revenue stream from the township, which they have a lot of needs as well. So,
A lot don't have any funds.
yeah, a lot don't have any funds.
Unless they have a millage, right?
The
And
case
it's
is,
finite as
the
well.
case of Linden Township is a
No
great
state land.
example. A lot of state land, their general fund is very limited. So they have a real tough time even getting our matching program. But then you have the complete opposite of like a SIO or a Pittsfield, where their general fund is much larger, and they can definitely do above and beyond what we have for a match. So, and we have some, in the case of Webster, where they passed a 10-year millage, which is great. They will definitely take advantage of the additional match
Yeah.
every year.
Is SIO, do they still have their 10-year millage? Did they renew that?
No.
No.
They ultimately did a township-wide SAD, which was a 10-year plan.
Right.
And
with an
then
SAD.
they ultimately, they've got a millage in place for non-motorized as well.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of different things going on, but we continue to work with them with our local road program.
Yeah, we just recently sent them an asset management plan, just draft to kind of review, and working off the information they've, basically created over the last 10 years or so, 12 years or so. So they can kind of evaluate decisions moving forward. They'll land somewhere. They're ready and willing with their roads group. It's just for them figuring out which direction they're gonna go about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, any other questions on this slide?
I don't see any.
Okay. Continuing on with revenues, as far as other contributions, anticipating 6.3 million for the road millage. Again, the road millage brings in about 5 million, but we have a carryover about 1.3 from 2025. And then, as Matt mentioned previously, we're expecting about 4.9 million from county parks for the border segment D4. And we talked about the consumers agreement, Bush Road, the carryover project. Miscellaneous income, again, we have an installment purchase for 5 heavy trucks currently in the budget. And then we get about $100,000 in trade-ins and from auctions of our equipment. And the goal is to reinvest that back into our capital road equipment. Expenditure-wise, we do have inflationary factors in all the departmental budgets. There was a TPOM increase of 4% in October. Typically that, comes into play for non-union folks, we will see. But we always include inflationary factors with the budgets because, things are usually going up. As far as our capital road equipment program, that's about 5.1, which includes 1.1 in carryovers, the upfitting that we talked about. And there's one of the appendices at the end has the breakdown of the capital road equipment that we're planning on purchasing in 2026. Pension, we have about $4.3 million, which is our pension obligation in 2026. As you recall, we like to put in an extra payment if we can justify it. At this point in time, we do not have it in there. Again, first, second quarter, assuming our numbers come in better, has been a trend here. We've been able to add that back into it. Again, to just try to address our underfunded levels. And then the same thing with our healthcare and OPEB. That's about 5.3 million. So there is a slight increase, but again, not double digit like we've been hearing a lot of agencies are going to be experiencing. But also we try to make an extra payment to address our OPEB as underfunded levels. And at this point in time, we don't have that in there, but hopefully in the first quarter that we can justify adding those back.
So what's our percentage funded level for pension?
The pension, I believe, is about 59%. So 59, 60%, that was the
We've met
threshold.
we're hopefully looking at exceeding our threshold of 60%.
Yes, right.
We'll see where the actuarial report comes in.
Yeah.
But that is the anticipated will be above 60 or right at. And then healthcare OPEB, we are trending well there.
Yeah, it's about 75, I think. So
We've been increasing that steadily
Yeah.
the last few
And
years.
wasn't that the shift that Jeff suggested?
Yeah.
yes, we
Yeah.
contributed our additional payment total is $1 million that we've been making, but we put 750 into our pension and 250 into our OPEB, which I think that was a good move.
Which got us closer to that required 60, right?
Right. And we did run it by our auditors. It made sense to the auditors. So I think that was a good call. And again, if we can justify another $1 million into both, I would recommend a similar breakdowns.
Did you have a question, Rod?
Yes, I did. Can any of our increase in MTF funds be used for our pension obligation, or is that not allowable?
I would think so. Yep.
Yes, definitely allowable. But again, it's that balance, trying to strike a balance.
Any
We're
other
not
questions?
currently in a position that we're shorting anybody.
No, absolutely.
Certainly, we want to make sure we're paying our minimal obligations, of course. So, yeah. Local road projects, we've already talked about the matching program and the changes there. The culvert projects in total is a $3.1 million program, so a very robust program for culverts. And as we stated before, township contribution of about 1.8. So we always talk about this, our balanced approach. We want to put as much money as we can justify into the roads, of course, that's why we're here. But we also have equipment and facilities that we want to, make sure that they continue to function and we make repairs as needed.
There are core services to maintain the safe and efficient road network.
Right.
So by and large, our core services maintenance.
Yep, and we're excited about the mower max that we purchased, so we'll see how that goes and assuming it works as well as we think. We might see more of those.
It's in the budget.
Oh, it's in for 26?
For
Okay.
26,
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
yep,
on.
excellent. Also, we want to try to attract and retain the best and brightest, so we want to make sure we're investing in our workforce. Without them, we would not be here, of course. And then our financial obligations, MERS sends us an invoice. We want to make sure we pay that, same with Blue Cross and so on. So we want to make sure we're meeting all of those obligations as well. So factors to monitor, again, how will 2025 turn out our actual numbers? Again, hopefully, better than the budget. And then those are good problems to have that, our fund balance would be higher and so on. NRF distribution, we've kind of talked about that a little bit. When will we receive that? What will the amounts be? So definitely something new, but again, these are probably good problems to have. Just a reminder, we have 0 in the budget currently for NRF funds. And yes, so we did, Commissioner Fuller brought this up, but workload management, we got a banner year for projects. So we want to make sure staff can handle it, and we want to make sure that we're not approaching burnout and so on. So we'll see. And as Matt said, a lot of this can be contracted out, at least a lot of the work. But then what was availability of contractors? So definitely a lot to monitor with such a banner year. But we shall see, and certainly we'll report back, probably second quarter, we might have a better idea if some of these projects have to be carried over, but we shall see. And then, of course, Mother Nature. Will Mother Nature be kind to us? So far, so good. But you can never tell in the last month and a half, and we'll see the first quarter of next year as well. As far as next steps, so we would, at the December 2nd board meeting, we'd have a public hearing. And again, we open that up to the public, and usually is fairly brief. And then we'll have action items for the board for both year-end 2025 and 2026 budgets. So again, the October numbers that are currently in the budgets are estimated. We'll have actual numbers for the December 2nd meeting. Again, won't impact the bottom line much at all, just enough to be annoying. So as I've said to some people here, if there are any major changes from what we've talked about today, certainly we would make sure that we would communicate that to the board. Any other questions for 2026 at all?
Commissioner Green, and then Commissioner Yamas.
Thank you. The non-motorized trail on Getty's Road, was the source of the funds MTF or millage funds?
That was TAP funds with an agreement with Superior Township. So any,
Hydro funds then?
yep, federal TAP funds, that stands for Transportation Alternative Projects.
Right.
So, and we had a project agreement with those TAP funds. Any costs in excess of that grant amount is the responsibility of Superior Township. So we invoice the township for those costs.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Yamas,
So I'm looking at the line items.
what page are you on?
I'm on page 17,
Thank you.
Appendix D. So I just have a couple of questions, and we talked about the anticipated medical insurance. So you already received what our bill is going to be for 2026, or is that's all you anticipate it's going to go up to? Because I think 5,000, oh no, 5,044,000.
You're on page 17?
I'm on page 17 of the 2026. And
So-
it's Appendix D.
Appendix D,
Of the
account number
twen-
716 is our medical insurance.
Yes,
So I have an increase for next year of $200,000.
right.
And that reflects the rates that we received
Okay,
for our renewal. In fact, we just went through open enrollment, and we had a slight increase, but not like Dan said, where we're seeing double-digit percentage increase. So we do have a slight increase at $5.25 million for 26.
Okay. Workers' compensation, I know what that, because that's based on what the state is, right? A
The mod
percentage,
factor,
whatever.
correct.
Yeah, that's
So-
our
Yeah,
CRASIF. That's who we get a bill for workers' compensation.
okay. So the other thing that I was, the unemployment is 0 so far. Is that a number meaning people who have applied for unemployment through us, or what we're paying to the state for
The-
unemployment insurance?
This would be dollars.
Yeah, right.
So conservatively, we do put a anticipated amount. It always amazes me what qualifies for unemployment. Certainly, if claims come in that we disagree with, Nicole Peterson in Human Resources does a great job in, pleading our case, if you will. Sometimes, most of the times I would say we are successful, but, it never ceases to amaze me. Sometimes they do get approved, so we want to make sure we do have a dollar amount in there.
So currently, we don't have any costs incurred for this year.
Okay, so I understood that we paid the unemployment insurance. So when somebody applies for unemployment, it comes from the unemployment and not necessarily us. Do they bill us, or do I have that law
I
incorrect?
believe we
Yeah.
get billed.
They bill us. There's some employers that pay into it. We are on a whatever cases that are presented. We
Okay.
receive an invoice at the end of the year. Actually, it comes in January for the previous year, so it makes it a little bit challenging from an accounting perspective. But yeah, we just receive that invoice once a year for the previous year. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so that was my only question, my only 2 questions. Thank you.
And, again, so there is a bit of an increase for medical insurance, but, take the $5 million and increase it by 10% or more. That's what a lot of employers are seeing. So, I feel like that's a nominal increase that we're projecting, so, which is great. And as Matt mentioned, we meet with our agents, Brown and Brown. They go over our claims history, projected claims. They give us more data than you'd ever want to see for medical insurance, but a lot of it's just great information for us to have. And again, the thing I heard from our agent, they also have an agent from Blue Cross that meets with us as well, is, the Road Commission had a really good year for our medical insurance, and, the dollars are reflecting that.
And I do credit Brown and Brown has set us up for success. The way that we've structured our healthcare benefits in working with Nicole Peterson and Alicia and the directors here, that they do a great job of making recommendations that really help control the costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Green?
Yeah.
No, Jeff? Where is the employee assistance program? What line item does
I
that?
believe that's in our medical insurance.
Medical, okay.
Yep.
And are we having supply chain issues this time around like we have in the past?
Not nearly as bad as they've
Okay.
been. Obviously, we've mentioned with the trucks and the upfitting, but some of those supply chain issues, around the COVID times were years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're not seeing the years issues anymore. Any other questions?
I do not see any of
I
them.
do want to acknowledge some folks, Brent Schlack and Aaron Burkholz, as well as the engineering team. Again, record-setting year for projects, and the appendices there with all the listing of projects is probably a daily exercise, and Brent does a great job keeping up with it and engaging his staff, and then kind of putting up with all my questions. And so definitely really appreciate all their efforts into it, and obviously we'll monitor these in 2026. Also,
I was just going to mention on page 28 of the 26 budget, you have a map that is a visual that helps me see all the work that's going to get accomplished.
Right.
right.
And engineering department helps us put this together. And it is by far a big workload, and you visually see that Some of these dots may seem small, but they represent a couple $1,000,000 per dot usually. So those are intersection jobs or bridges that can be quite expensive. So not only are we doing a lot of paving and seal coat, thanks to our millage, we've got a lot of federal aid, and there are a banner year for our project workload.
After our December meeting, I'd like some copies of this to take to the Dexter Forum,
Absolutely.
please.
Yep.
Thank you.
We can do that. And then also, we're working to update our website and our project maps so that should be reflective
Okay,
on our website as well.
because I think I only have 2025, don't I?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll get you 26.
Yep.
So a couple other acknowledgements, Adam Lee.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you
Operations
off, Dan.
Department, no, that's fine. We've had some great meetings with the operations staff, and usually everybody has some homework as far as crunching numbers, and it's just a great process, and I know they have several meetings as well to go over the budget, and his staff is very engaged with everything, and it works well, so just want to say thank you. And Tiffany as well, she kind of helps put everything together and makes it look great. And then Connie, fairly new to the organization, feet to the fire. She already helped populate some of the information into the narrative. So definitely appreciate her efforts as well. And it's a team effort, and I think we have a pretty good process in place. So
I really appreciate all the documentation. It takes me a few sessions to get through it.
sure.
But as I mentioned earlier, nobody can accuse us of not being transparent on where we're
Right.
spending our money and what we're counting on, and
Mhm.
just a really great job to have that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks.
All right,
Great job, Dan.
I think we're due for a break before we go over bylaws review. Do people want to break now?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's be back here, what, 10:45 or earlier? All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to proceed with the working session agenda, starting with the bylaws review. All of you will have received a copy of the current bylaws, which are dated November 5th of 2024. That's the effective date. So this is the current set of bylaws. And there has been a proposed change. As you can see, it's in red under the second item, powers and authority. The suggestion is to include the County Road Association of Michigan's Road Commissioners Handbook, adopted as a guideline for commissioners' duties, responsibilities, and conduct. And that was this book that we all should have gotten a copy of.
Right.
Did you want to speak to that, Matt, or?
I will just say, this was a suggestion, because this is such a great document.
It is.
It covers a lot of ground, and even our own Commissioner McCollum, which is part of the Commissioners Committee, which did a lot of work and put into this handbook. I think it's a valuable resource, and we didn't really have a reference to it, and I think this points to it nicely. But if you had any recommendations on language changes, or if there was a desire to move it forward or not, it's really up to the board.
Okay. So this is working session, right? So we're talking this through. We're not adopting this or not today.
Right.
But this is our opportunity to say, well, what about, I don't know.
Right.
Another item. I didn't see anything that I was suggesting a change in. Does anyone here have
No,
anything they want to bring to our attention? No?
I did not see anything.
Okay.
I do like the suggested change. That book is, I've read it, has a lot of good material. And I know that Commissioner McCollum worked on that book,
Yeah.
updating that book, and I think they review it.
I think a year
Yearly.
ago, didn't they update it? They asked us to all go through it line by line. Went
Yep.
through a couple of highlighters.
Yep.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I'd just like to add that I thoroughly support the addition of the handbook, of the adoption. I think it's great.
Okay.
It's a great tool for us and it should be included in our articles.
So we're adopting it by reference, so if they make changes, we don't have to dive back in and say, so on page 33 of the handbook, so.
Right.
Right, I anticipate, because there's a lot of description on funding, so this
Mhm.
will be revisited at some point.
Yeah.
Probably 26, 27, probably more likely, so.
When the dust settles on all of that.
Exactly, so.
Will this be on our December 2nd agenda then, our annual meeting? Okay,
If that is the desire, I will
Okay, please.
absolutely, make this a change and, put it on the agenda for adoption.
okay, okay. All right, and all of you should have received in your materials this parliamentary guide. I know there'd been some interest in being more fluent in Robert's rules. This was a guide that I think is pretty handy.
Mm-hmm.
A quick reference guide. If you want to go deeper into a question at some point, we could always either get legal opinion or
Bring it back.
ask Google. Do we need to do this or not?
Ask Google or Troika.
Oh, yeah, Google's cheaper than Troika.
Yeah.
We love you, Dan, but,
Right.
okay. All right, so then let's look at the calendars. Did anybody see any conflicts? Anything that jumped out as needing to be adjusted? And of course, yes, Matt.
I'd just like to quickly point out, one of the adjustments. So on the board meeting schedule, we'll start there.
Yeah,
Ultimately, we typically, our rhythm is the first and third Tuesday.
right.
We have one, unless otherwise noted, the other one noted is Thursday, July 23rd. The reason for that deviation is McChrysip and Crasif are planning their annual meeting. That annual meeting would conflict with that Tuesday, July 21st. So I'm proposing to the board to move to Thursday, July 23rd. We're just moving it 2 days. That would allow those that are interested, including myself, to attend the McChrysip and Crasif annual meeting.
Okay. It's easier for me to follow visually on this very nice calendar that I assume Ms. Tiffany put together.
If Shelby.
Shelby put this together.
Uh,
Thank you. This is very nice. Yes, Commissioner Yamas.
I was just curious, besides the McChrysip meetings, what about, there's no conflict with commissioner meetings and the other meetings that we normally?
You mean like the highway conference? I
Yeah,
think
like the
that's in
highway
March.
conference
Um,
and the conference the legislative conference that is done in Lansing.
Yeah, we attempted to look at all the County Road Association meetings. We didn't see any other conflicts to date.
Okay.
The annual highway conference, that is, I believe, not in conflict for our March 3rd or 17th meeting.
When is that? The 23rd, 24th?
I believe it's the week after the 17th meeting.
Yeah. That's typically.
So,
Okay. Well, thank you for this calendar. I do love this. I like a good visual.
Oh, you and me both, Gloria. Okay, and we can make adjustments if we need to. We have in the past.
Yep.
But this is an attempt to get people's calendars squared away ahead of time.
and then we had if we're done with the board meeting schedule, we have the working session schedule. That would also have that adjustment in July on the Thursday, July
Right.
23rd. And then we have a proposed topic list. Some of them are rhythms that we normally do, others that are added, knowing we have things like the feasibility study for main yard and Manchester yard. We have that on the March 17th, and then just the normal rhythms of things that we've done. If you've got ideas you want to share or areas of interest that you want to take a deeper dive into, happy to add to the agendas. We certainly can take on more than one topic, but we always start with one main
Right.
topic and we can add to it as needed.
So think about that. If there's something that comes up that you'd like to spend some extra time on in a working session, let Matt or me know and we'll weave it in. Nothing else?
And the other one is the chat schedule. That's in draft. If you have any known conflicts, certainly let Shelby or I know.
Yep.
Visions.
I think it's worked out real well that commissioners, if you need to swap with somebody, you've done that. We've had coverage at I don't think we've been without coverage at any of them.
Done really well.
Okay. Well. Anybody have any songs they want to sing or anything? Any games they want to play? Yes, Jeff.
I do. It's the lack of questions tells me that you guys have done a good job of putting this stuff together because it's very clear.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
that's just a comment.
Yeah, every year you get a little bit further ahead of the game, so. Okay, well, if there is nothing else from anyone, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Shelby, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Smurs.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned.